Style Stories podcast with Lizzie Edwards. This is part 2 of a 2-part series we're doing about what to wear to work in 2024, why it matters, and some things that you can do to really prep your wardrobe for this year. And welcome back, Lizzie. Thank you for joining me again onto the podcast.
Yeah, it's good to be here again. Thanks, Lisa.
So Lizzie is a personal stylist, and like I said on the first episode, she's the OG. She's been doing it for nearly 18 years. It was a long time. I've been doing it for 15 years. She's also the author of the best-selling book Look Like the Leader You Are, which is a 7-step style strategy for ambitious women. She's flashing it there. I've got a copy. I've got an older copy here.
You've got the first edition. This is the second edition.
And the second edition. And also she's the founder of a membership for professional women called Elevate as well, which helps women with their professional wardrobes. So hopefully I did you justice there, Lizzie. Let's get into the episode. So I just want to talk first about, I keep seeing this bandied around, wear what makes you happy. You should just wear what makes you happy. But in the last episode, and if anyone listening hasn't listened to the episode that we recorded before this, you really must listen to that first before we dive into today's episode, because that's setting the scene and really explaining why workwear is important, what is important about it, and why we're both passionate really about it and about the work that we do with professional women. Not just all professional women as well. The things that we're going to be talking about today really can be applied to any wardrobe. And we're going to go into really actionable tips that you can work on at home that are from Lizzie's book to start the year with a fresh pair of eyes, to draw a line in the sand where you are before, and just really to move forward with your wardrobe and your style and get it to where you want it to be. Because I know that it's a huge source of frustration for loads of people and holds lots of people back. It's really overwhelming going into the shops. If you haven't spent any time actually sitting back and working out what works for you in the first place, then you're just going to continue feeling like that. So make 2024 the time to take hold of your style, take hold of your wardrobe, and go through these steps. And it really, I guarantee, will make a huge difference to how you feel about your wardrobe and just make life more simple.
Yeah. I mean, Lisa, what you just said there about the idea of wear what makes you happy, I think it's partially right, but it's that, because I think the two things that wardrobe can do for you, which again I talked about in the previous podcast, is what you wear does definitely affect how you feel. So yes, wear stuff that makes you feel good and that feels authentic, because when you feel like you're dressed as yourself rather than playing a part, dressed up as someone that doesn't feel right, then you can perform at your best, you can be at your best, but also it does affect how other people see you, and that in effect that can affect your job prospects, your promotion prospects, what you earn, all sorts of things. So it's an absolute tool for women, particularly professional women. It's such an amazing tool to use. So yes, wear what makes you happy, but with an awareness of the impact of what you're wearing and the choices that you make, what they have on other people as well.
Yeah, wear what makes you happy, but get the clarity on what that is.
Yes.
So that's really what this episode is about today. So you were going to go through, we're right at the beginning of a brand new year, perfect time to reflect, to step back, to take a step back from loads of aspects of your life.
Yeah.
What do you want 2024 to look like for you? What are your goals? Do you want to do more? Do you want to do less? Do you want to make partner? What are the things that you want to do? I'm just throwing a few random things out there. So do you want to go through, Lizzie, the first step, I think it is in your book, which is called the first chapter. And the first thing that you should really do is to reflect, to take.
So my book is called Look Like the Leader You Are, and the subtitle is a 7-step style strategy for ambitious women. Now, this book could be done by a teenager who's going for their first job. It could be done by a guy. Like it's focused really about women dressing for work. And again, I just have to always clarify this. Looking like the leader you are does not mean that you work in finance or you're a lawyer or you work in business and you have to be suited and booted. This could be, you could be a hairdresser, you could work in an advertising agency, you could work in a local shop, you could be running your own business online. It's about you showing up as yourself in a work environment, whatever that might be. But the interesting thing, obviously, going into a brand new year, January, what's really important to say about my steps. So often people think about what we do as about shopping and clothes and new clothes. Now, in my book, the part where the step that is about shopping is the 6th step. There's 5 steps before then. So what's great is January is a month that I don't even recommend anyone even goes in a store unless they've done all of the things I teach before, and by the time they're going into the stores to get some amazing sale bargains, they're doing so very consciously and very, specifically. So what's great about using January as a month to actually go, right, stop. This is a whole new year ahead of me. What is it that I want? So I'm going to just tell you, first of all, what the 7 steps are. So the first step is reflect, which is really about, again, getting clarity on where you're at right now and what you want to achieve. Step 2 is review, and that's about going into your wardrobe and having a bit of a look through and a clear out. Step 3 is reorganize, where you just get yourself back to basics, really straight and organized, because again, part of having a wardrobe that works is actually about being able to find things and it being easy to use. Step 4 is rethink, and that's where I talk about things like putting outfits together, how to build outfits, just actually rethinking the whole way that a wardrobe works. That's just one part of that step. Step 5 is research. So I always, again, people often don't research. They just wander off aimlessly out into the stores. I really promote the idea of pre-shopping, which is obviously what you and I have to do for our clients, don't we, Lisa? We don't just randomly wander into the stores and start plucking at things. We actually go and intentionally look online and then go into the stores before. And then step 6 is the actual shopping part, where you actively going out to buy specific items that you've highlighted that you need. And that step 7 is refine, which is always and again an extra cherry on the top step, which is about grooming, just hair, makeup, nails, teeth, skin, all of those things, which are the final thing. So in those 7 steps, as I say, the shopping part is, you don't even get to 6, but step 1 is a perfect January step. And step 1, the reflect step, as I say, it's about getting really clear. And the first question in all of that is, what's your why? So really getting clear at the beginning of a year, and in this context, and it might, if you're not a working woman, but you love listening to Lisa's podcast, you don't have to think about your career goals, but what is your goal? What would you like? And this can be a long-term goal. This could be a 5 or 10-year goal. Like if you're 30, this could be something like, what is your ultimate goal? Do you want to be a CEO? Do you want to have your own business? Do you want to, be headmistress? Do you want to be a partner in a law firm? What is it? Being really clear on what you want to achieve long-term. Or maybe you decide that I'm going to look at what I want to do this year and just have that as a goal. But having some clarity about what your goal is a really good place to start, because without a reason to do anything, you won't do anything. So there's that. That's the first thing, is about career goals. And the second thing is about your wardrobe goal. Like, what would you like from your wardrobe? And that can be the clothes themselves, as in to move into a specific style, maybe upgrade the items that you buy, better quality. It could be that you want to transition from wearing a certain style into another style. Maybe your lifestyle's changed, you don't need suits anymore and you're going more casual. It's just about getting clear on what those wardrobe goals are. And the final step in the why is what I call the magic wand exercise. So if I was to be able to wave a magic wand and all of your wardrobe woes were sorted in one go, and you could and this is why it's a bit of if you take the time after you've listened to this podcast just to kind of do a closed eye exercise, as they say, and just imagine if someone could wave a magic wand and it was all sorted, just write down, just journal, what would it look like in the present form?
Pause the podcast and quickly do that now. That would be
just good. Press pause and just journal. If you can close your eyes and just imagine, oh my word, I walk into my room and I've got built-in wardrobes and everything's organized and I've got amazing, picture the scene. We can't move towards our goal if we don't know what it looks like. And you might not even know that you wanted those things. So, do you open your drawers and all your socks are all lined up? What is it? I don't know. Again, we were talking earlier about the David Beckham documentary. He's organized, he's a little bit OCD. But if you're not, is that a goal? Would you love that? Would it? And also just the other thing that's really important with this, it's not about the physical, what it looks like, it's how it feels. And I know for myself, when I go to a client's house and they've got loads of clutter, it feels, and I'll be honest, I am not a tidy person. I'm ADHD, I'm a bit messy, but I'm not overwhelmed with stuff. So even if I'm a bit messy, it doesn't take me long to put it back together. I'm not searching for things. But if you've got too much stuff, if that's how you start your day, opening up a wardrobe where everything's just a mess, it can feel it in your body. So what's the opposite of that? What would be the dream with a magic wand? What would it look like for you to open this amazing wardrobe? And it will be different for different people. So that's the first exercise, the why exercise in my reflect step.
And that, I mean, one of the things that you talk about as well is finding your style words. You and I are both very hot on having clarity on your style personality, right?
Yeah.
So say you visualize how you want things to look. You still get confused with clothes when you go in a shop. You're like, oh my God, what is for me? I don't know where to start. I don't know. Do you have a thing that people can do to get this clarity on style personality?
Yeah, so for me, that the part of it as well is my style aesthetic is very simple, and one of my kind of goals, if you like, in my business and in my membership is to help women to streamline and simplify. Like, I really think that, yes, there's a lot of women out there who love clothes, love dressing, and so this isn't really, the way that I work isn't really for people like that. They think the style that I choose is boring, but for a lot of women, and for my clients and the women in Elevate, the idea of just having a wardrobe, you could call it a capsule wardrobe, but I don't dictate certain items, but that idea of things all working together just makes life a lot easier. But to get to that point, like you say, even within that, even if I suggested that everybody had a pair of jeans, for example, what sort of jeans would be very different on personality, style, age, lots of different things. But to get to your style, so one of the other exercises in my reflect step in my book is to do an inspiration board. And again, that's my starting point for creating these style words. I don't know what your process is, Lisa, but mine is that people create an inspiration board. And there's two different things. And often, again, I'll explain this. People often, there's different ways. Every stylist has got a different way of doing this. Some don't do it at all. But for people who do inspiration boards, I've got two different sides of it. I've got what I call the inspiration board, which is the subconscious thing, which is not about clothes. Now, it doesn't mean that items of clothing or pictures of women in an outfit don't end up on that board. But this is more about, if you were to go, and again, a lot of this thing I do teach in my book, and I also teach in my membership Elevate. But if you go looking for images of kind of slightly random things, like the original exercise is flicking through magazines. Now, it's interesting, from when I first did the exercise in my book, which I published in 2018, things have moved on so much. I've actually changed the exercise a little bit and given other options where you could scroll through Instagram or go on Pinterest to find images of almost, if you were to choose to go to a hotel, what hotel would you like to go to? What are the interiors of that hotel? If you were to buy a sofa, what would the sofa you choose? If you were to go, what's your favourite portrait or photograph or painting that you would have on your wall? What's that photograph? If you were to choose a vase, a lampshade, a bird, a flower, like all these slightly random things, even if you use those as a jumping off point, they're the things, if you get the images of those. And even as I'm saying this, you can imagine, if me and Lisa, we've got very different styles. If I said, like, Lisa, you go online and find a sofa that you love. Let's go online and both choose some wallpaper that we love. Let's go and choose a landscape that we love. Like, they would be different, just by the nature that we're different. And so even from that exercise, you pull out a random selection of images, and then the next part of that's not where we leave it. The next part is that you go through the exercise that I do with my clients is that they do that part, and then when I arrive to do their wardrobe session, we go through this, and I will ask them. So this is something that I suggest people do using almost the voice notes application on their phone, where they almost interview themselves, like, tell me why you love that picture. And the words that come out, the adjectives that come out, oh, I love it because again, this is the interesting thing, and I see this in Elevate, my membership, is that some people will say, oh, can people tell me what they see in my vision, my inspiration board? And I think it's great to get other sometimes people see things that you don't see. But the interesting thing is, unless you know why someone's chosen that picture. So, for example, I could choose a picture of a beautiful dahlia, which I love, dahlias, my flowers. I might have chosen that particular picture because of the colour, not the flower at all, but I love that colour pink. Someone else could have said, oh, I love the texture of those petals, that I love the way that they're really refined and they're quite dramatic. They're very different words. So the picture in itself isn't the interesting thing until you dissect why you love it. So that's where, once you start interviewing yourself about what's on this board, why do you love that sofa? Oh, I love the velvet's really lush. It feels really luxurious. Someone else might go, I love that green, it's really vibrant. So the same sofa, if it was in a lush, vibrant green velvet, someone might say, oh, it's luxurious. Someone else might say it's vibrant. Very different words, same picture. So again, what I did in Elevate when I last did a training for this exercise is I've pulled together hundreds of images that they choose from, and all the members have chosen when they pull their board together. It's so trying to fast track it for them, basically, because even given people the idea of, oh, just go and find images, it's a bit like, oh no. It's interesting, the same images, people create very different mood boards and inspiration boards and have very different words. So this is where you fine tune it, you get these star words. And I don't know, Lisa, is that a similar exercise to what you do with your clients?
Yeah, I love this. I mean, you've gone really sort of a lot deeper. I've never thought about the thing with choose a flower, choose sofa, choose, and I think home decor, for example, like how do you decorate your house? It's a big clue to how you want to
Huge
dress.
clue.
Are you cute, country, cutesy? Are you sort of ditzy prince? Are you minimalist? Are you classic? Are you traditional? Are you a bit avant-garde? That there are different, words you can take from your home decor, what you're naturally drawn to. And I think with our home, that's one of the things that we really think about deeply.
Yeah, people put a lot more energy into their home decor than they do their wardrobe.
Yeah,
again, it's an analogy that I use in my book, where you would never just go and randomly buy a sofa and then, without measuring up or considering the wallpaper, you would choose each item in a refurb individually, taking into account the context, the lifestyle requirement. Do you have kids? Is it going to be got a dog jumping on it? Is it big? Is it small? People do all of that for their environment, but they never think about their wardrobe in the same way. They just don't.
No,
but I mean, again, hotels is one that I often come to. So my dream hotel, I love all the Soho House hotels. That's my, very cozy, very comfortable, but neutral palettes. Someone else would love Dubai bling stuff. I wouldn't want to be in a hotel with hard surfaces and chandeliers and lots of gold taps. Totally not my vibe. When in the old days, and I haven't seen it for years, but when they go to that Versace hotel after I'm a Celeb, it's like, I would hate to be in a hotel like that. I don't care if it's 500 quid a night. It's just not my vibe at all. And this is where there's no rights and wrongs in it. But when you know what you love, it's, the style. I don't do glitter and, I know that you love sequins and metallics and stuff. It's just not my thing. So it's like, when you know that, you can just relax into it. It's like, fine, no rights and wrongs. Just, I know that that's what I like. And then you just save an inordinate amount of time getting clear on that.
Because you've got your clarity. But yeah, you asked, do I do that with my clients? I do the Pinterest board thing, and then I sort of rationalize it in words and try to get people to come up with just 3 words. I also say to people, follow a couple of influencers on Instagram, but try not to follow too many, because that actually can really throw you off course as well. It's just getting to, like you say, your vibe.
Yeah.
That is the key thing. What is your vibe?
Yeah.
What clues can you take from how you've decorated your house? And okay, you sort of pain over decorating your house because you're hopefully going to have it for a few years and it's expensive. So your wardrobe you can change up a lot more easily. But people leave their wardrobe to the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, they really do, yeah. But I think that the idea, so, with the getting your style words from the inspiration board, and just remembering that the inspiration board is a subconscious exercise. It doesn't have to be logical. And then, like you've just talked about, the other thing I suggest people do, another exercise in the same chapter of the book, is an aspiration board, where you're actually looking for the clothes that you like. So I like, that outfit. I like that person's style, finding people whose style you admire, because again, I'll say it, there's no harm in copying. If you like what someone looks like in a whole outfit, pick it apart and go and copy it or figure it out. And again, a lot of the trainings that I do about outfit building is explaining the theory of why something works or not. And often when you see it, you can't unsee it, and then you can understand how to build an outfit. There is a science to it. It's not random. So I think that, really knowing that and being clear on, you've got the style words from the inspiration board, having some, style icons, for want of a better word, that you think, I love what they do, and narrow it down. As Lisa says, you don't need to kind of have too many, because it's confusing. And also, if they are celebrities or influencers, their life is not necessarily realistic. So they don't have, they just don't have a real life. They're not out in the rain, or they're waiting on a tube platform, or, all of that stuff. So it's getting the aesthetic that you can then apply to yourself. So that's, one of the other exercises. But before I suggest anyone even then goes on and buys anything, the next exercise within the reflect step is to do an image audit. And again, so many people, this is separate to having a wardrobe review where you just go through and go, I haven't worn that for ages, I'm going to get rid of it. But to consciously, and you'll hear me say that word a lot, consciously, get dressed for work. So you can either do this where you basically dress for work over the space of a couple of weeks, so you've had a different pattern to work, and take photographs of yourself every day, because often just seeing the photograph makes you really see, oh, okay, that is not good. Or you have a Saturday or a weekend or maybe a time over Christmas or the New Year where you can take a day and just get dressed for work, but without taking any more time, but do it properly, everything, including the coat, including the bag, and see the whole outfit. And again, take a picture, because pictures are much more startling than looking in the mirror, and look at how you're showing up. And sometimes when people do this exercise in Elevate, they're like, whoa, okay, I didn't realise. And I don't know, again, Lisa, I'm sure that you can't help, but when you're waiting in the train and you look at people getting dressed, so many people are sort of dressed for work until they put their coat on, and then suddenly they've got like a dog walking coat on, or they're dressed for work or they're dressed generally. Like I was at a party recently and someone was completely dressed for being in the party, and then they just had these sort of running shoes on. And I don't know, they might have just forgotten them and thought, you know what, I'm not going to not go to a party. It was like they're just mismatched. Something just completely off. They didn't have the complete outfit.
You can kill an outfit with not paying attention to the detail.
Yeah.
Another one I see is a scruffy old rucksack.
Yeah, scruffy old rucksack or a plastic bag, and I've seen it at weddings as well, where people put a lot of effort into, I'm wearing this dress, and then it's been colder or wet, and actually they've spent most of the time in either their husband's blazer over the top of it or just like a coat that they just happen to have. They haven't thought through, which is why, again, my emphasis is on always getting these basics in, because if you've got the coat that works with everything, if it's going to rain or it's a colder day, you've got something that just you can always stick on. But when you do this image audit, you can really see what it is that where you're going wrong. Because what I also suggest in the audit, and again, this is an exercise that's in more detail in my book, but also in the show notes, I'm going to put a link where if you want to, you can download my image audit kind of exercise with more detail. But it's also to look at when things aren't right, what is letting you down? Is it the quality of the clothes? Is it that the garments in themselves are okay, but they're just looking a little bit shabby, like you've had them too long? Is it that they're not fitting you properly and they're pulling? Or maybe it's just the grooming aspect of it. There'll often be a reason why something's not working, but it's being your own image consultant and being self-critical enough to really look at yourself, and front and back, it's the really looking at yourself from all sides and getting really clear on that.
It's raising consciousness. And if you're now thinking about your wardrobe in this way, I think your eyes will start to open, because like I said before, people put this to the bottom of the pile. And people do believe on some deep level it's frivolous to buy yourself clothes. Just let that go, because it's investing in yourself, it's investing in your brand, in your image.
But it's also, one of my business mentors, he has this phrase that he talks about which he says, be, do, have. It's not you've got to be the person you want to be before you can become it. So if you have any intention of a goal this year, of a promotion, of a new job, you can't wait. Oh, I'm going to wait until I've got that new job to invest in myself. No, you'll get the job because you've invested in yourself now, because you will show up differently. He also has a phrase where he says the transformation is in the transaction. And he's obviously talking about that in the fact, in an online business world where people get stuff for free, they don't value it. But if you pay for something, you're much more likely to show up. So actually you're doing a service for people by charging them because they've got skin in the game. And I think that's the same with clothes. When if you've spent more on a blazer than you might have done, if you've moved away from buying one from Zara, even if it's going up to buying one from Massimo Dutti, still high street, maybe £100 difference in price. The fact that you have to think more about the purchase, the fact that it's probably better constructed, you will stand differently in it, it will do up better, it will feel nicer. It just changes, the knock-on effect is really big. So it's that investment, I think, as to try and really impress on all of our clients and women to not see dressing as frivolous, but it's an investment in yourself, and it pays dividends. It really, it can get you. I've had clients, and I'm sure you have, Lisa, where they've had big pay increases, they've secured new jobs.
Yeah.
People see them differently. They look valuable.
Let
They're
off a
much more
different
valuable.
energy. Your energy changes. It shifts your energy. People pick up on that vibration because we're looking for all sorts of different clues. So it really helps. So I think, as well, like you say, I think the reflect thing, look in the mirror and describe with words what your outfit looks like.
Yeah.
If there's a scruffy in there, maybe that's not good. You've
Yeah.
got to sort of, and if you're dressed in just practical clothes, guess what? You look practical.
Mm.
You feel practical.
Mm. Mm.
So it's like, how do you want to look? You want probably, like we said in the last episode, pulled together, put together.
Yeah, it's the most common thing. And actually one of the most common things that people say is that, again, when I ask a questionnaire from people when they join Elevate, often it's like, I've got a wardrobe of random items, but I don't have any outfits. And that's where you're buying ad hoc. You're on a whim with a newsletter that's come from a brand that you've bought from once, and then they're bombarding you twice a day. You're seeing something on Instagram, it looks fantastic on the person, and you've just bought this thing, and it's just not right. But if you don't stop and take stock and get all those, basic pieces in, and you can't make all those items work. And so many people, they've got a lot of items in their wardrobe that will work if they again get the core items in. So the character items are all the kind of bits that pull you. Because let's be honest, when you walk into a store, the mannequin, the front of store, the rails are not showing you the plain white t-shirt, the black polo neck, the navy trousers, that they're just not.
That's
So
the
the
glue.
thing on the mannequin is not that. And so they're often the things where you're not buying them.
And they're the glue that hold the wardrobe together. This is, you might have great pieces in your wardrobe, brilliant pieces, but they don't work together because people really struggle, don't they, to pull outfits.
Absolutely.
Together.
And if you're more of a magpie dresser, or you love a bit of sparkle or a pattern or colour, yes, brilliant. If you love a skirt and it's got a ruffle and a pattern and whatever, again, this comes down to taste. My personal taste is that would only work with something really plain on top. You need that navy crew neck. You need that. I mean, my big go-to is always an off-white ivory coloured top, t-shirt, blouse, silk blouse. If you've got a wardrobe of all of those pieces, then the blingy stuff, the character pieces, you can put on in a snap. If you suddenly decide that you want to wear those bright red patterned trousers, you need the plain top.
Yeah.
And often people don't have that. And actually with shoes, often everything's got something on it extra. And it's like, no, get the boring one. And I shouldn't use the word boring, because the real core pieces are going to make everything else effortless. And for me, my mission is about making, as I said this before, streamline and simplify. If you want to get dressed in a flash, you have to have all of those pieces so that you can not have to think it through. That idea of putting something on, oh, it doesn't quite work, taking it off again, what a waste of time and an energy drain.
Well, like you said, it's a recipe. It's a recipe as well. It's a balance. So outfits are balanced. So you need the basics in your wardrobe, and if you don't want to look too formal, always thinking of words. So say you work in an office, but you don't want to look formal. You've got tailored trousers. Don't put a tailored blazer with it. Wear maybe a different style cropped boucle jacket or something that's a little bit different, something basic with that tailoring. So you've got a balanced wardrobe. So it's like making sure you've got all those pieces then to have the outfits. So let's just recap on so what people need to do to sort of get this clarity at this point in January 2024 to reflect.
So to first of all, as I say, start off with the question about what's your why. And if you rewind the podcast, you can get the details on that. And then go into your brand values as well. So that's the other thing that we haven't actually covered yet, but I'll do that in a second. So then it's do the inspiration board to get your star words from the interviewing of yourself, and then doing the image audit. But the other part that's really important from a workwear perspective is to be really clear on your brand values. And these are not set in stone. So as at the end of the day, when you're an employee or you've got your own business, you are a product. People want to know what you're about. And if you don't know what you're about, you can't project that. So the way that I think it's easy for people to get is to say, if you walked into a room, what would you want people to know about you before you open your mouth? And it can be, usually in the workwear environment, the same words come up all the time: professional, competent, reliable, all of those. So they're kind of, great. And then it's the extra ones, which would be different. Someone might have powerful, someone might have approachable, someone could have fun. Someone could, you know, the little extra ones. And then it's like, well, what does that look like in clothing? And obviously that's way too much to go into here, but having even just the thought of it, just being remotely aware of it, either at all stages. So when you're shopping, if once you know what these value words are, and you know, I always say to people, look, if you you know, even if you have one, that's great. But if you have about 5, you might use a couple on a different day. Like a day where you've got a board meeting, you might use different words to the day where you're with a team just doing some brainstorming, but you're conscious of them. So when you're dressing in that morning, so when you're shopping, when you're dressing, when you're packing for a conference or something, knowing, okay, how do I want to show up? It means that you might choose that suit over that suit, you know, because you might decide, actually, my softer fabric, lighter coloured suit is, you know, if one of my words is approachable, that is the best option for me over my black suit. And when you're conscious of all of these things, and obviously that's touching on colour and contrast, which is, again, a really big part of what I teach, knowing the impact of your vision, of your visual impact, is really important when you're making decisions. So, but once you've got those star words in, making those choices, and I think that even when people are approaching into 2024, just that idea of when they go to a store, when they get dressed, just having a couple of words in their mind of what do I want people to see about me, might make you decide on one blouse over another. You know, in that moment, it helps you make a decision. It's not just random, oh, I'm just going to put this on today. It's like, why are you going to choose that over that?
And it's just as helpful to know what isn't for you. This is what this does. It helps you to then just ignore what isn't for you. Admire someone in the outfit, you know, with ruffles and sequins, but no, it's not for you. She looks great. I can tell it's for her. She's got all the confidence. It's brilliant, but I know it's not for me because I'm.
Yeah, and that's it for me. Like, that's not my style, but I love it. Like when I see a woman, I was watching something on the TV the other day where there was a woman who was an artist, and she had really loud pattern dress on and big glasses, and she had blue lipstick on. I mean, again, totally not my style, but she just looked amazing.
Rocked it.
And so you can really, because she owned it. It was so her. She would look so wrong in my style. It would be, she would look invisible. It was just so, it wouldn't be congruent. I would feel so uncomfortable in that kind of outfit. Like, it's just not me. And I think that when you feel comfortable in your clothes and you feel totally authentic, you can, you know, and again, just to say, a lot of women feel when they get to our kind of age, middle age, there's almost this idea that, you know, women obviously can get a bit invisible. So there's often, you know, I've seen it on image consulting things before where suddenly like wear a red jacket or do this and that, and they don't want to. They don't want to be visible in that way. And a lot of my clients and Elevate members are quite introverted. They don't want heads to spin and people to go, oh my God, they want to. No. They want to look good and they want it to be easy, but they don't want to draw attention to themselves. And so to really own that and say, right, what does my style look like for me where I feel good? That's the important thing. You don't have to suddenly get to middle age and start wearing a bright scarf and, you know, that kind of, you know,
it makes me laugh.
You know what I mean? Where people were encouraged, suddenly they're like, oh, I've got to wear, I will never forget one of my clients once when I said to her, no, you know what? You can just wear navy. That could be your signature style. She's like, she was so relieved because she sort of thought, oh, I've got to suddenly start wearing a red jacket. Now, again, nothing against red jackets. Yeah. Great. I've got a red jacket. Love it. But it's not, if it's not right for you. And the other thing that I'll say as well is that your impression, even if you wear very simple styles, the thing that can have the impact can be literally something like the quality. Like if someone's got a really beautiful jumper on, they can just be standing there in a camel coloured jumpers. You know, if it's cashmere, you know, like it's the impression that you get from clothes. They don't have to be all singing or dancing ruffly sequin pattern. They can just be really clean and look really good. And there's a confidence that comes from that style. And I didn't watch it because I don't have Sky, but that Succession program, there was a whole thing about the word for it where they wore this sort of, the clothes were so simple but they like oozed richness.
It's quiet luxury, isn't it?
Quiet luxury.
Yeah.
That people get it, you know, and that's more my aesthetic of my aspiration would be for that kind of look. Right. But other people, that would be, like I said, this artist woman, it would be totally wrong for somebody else because you've got to know what's right for you.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. I'm so passionate about it. And it's the biggest thing I found out about my own style as well. You know, shouldn't feel bad that I'm a relaxed dresser, because it is my vibe. I am casual, I am relaxed. I don't like feeling trussed up. I don't really like tailoring, and that's fine.
No.
You know, another thing, misconception people have is that when they get older, the red scarf thing, that's hilarious. I would never wear a red jacket because it just makes me think of Heidi High, because I've just got that, you know, from Butlins, that sort of red jacket look. I've got this thing about looking like I'm in Heidi High. Anyone listening might not remember that. It's quite an old show. You know, you have these things attached to clothes as well, don't you? But it's just, yeah, get your vibe. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway from today's podcast, really, is to, if I could just tell you one thing from what we've talked about, is to think of your style words. It just makes the biggest impact and helps with the clarity. So are there any other steps to do in your first part?
That's the all for the first step, reflect. Apart from the other thing that you can do, and often I'll say to people, look, wait until you're about to go shopping. But the other thing to get clarity on, because this beginning of the year thing, just get clear, become aware, stop hiding. If you haven't got a full length mirror, get a full length mirror. A lot of women don't have a mirror because they don't really want to see the truth of it. See the truth of it, because you can't make change if you can't see it. And also measure yourself. So again, a lot of women, particularly now there's a lot of stretchy clothes in, are in complete denial about what size they are. Now, sizing, there is no judgment on size. We talked about this in the previous podcast. Size is just, you know, it just tells you what size you are. Now, I've had many a client who they'll say, oh, I'm a size 14, and they're not, they're like an 18, but because they've been wearing stretchy clothes, they're just in denial about it. And what that does is it makes shopping very difficult, because you can spend time looking at things that you just can't buy because you're not in that, you know, you need to know what size you are in order to shop effectively online. Now, we all know every store is different. So there's a little bit of detective work to do on making sure that you, in that brand, you know what size you are. And even then it's not 100%, but you've got a much better chance of getting things right, getting things that fit you. But I think the biggest tip that I would give for 2024, you know, what to wear in dressing, is just to be really aware, be honest with yourself. If you're not happy with what you see in the mirror, what actions can you take to do something about it? And one of the things I will say really clearly at the beginning of this is, and you'll have had this, I'm sure, I've had people who they think they're going to wait until they've lost weight to do anything about their wardrobe and their clothes. And I cannot stress enough how it's the wrong way around. If you take care of yourself as you are now, if you've put on weight and things are all a bit tight, buy new clothes. It's not a waste. Honor yourself as you are today. If, and it's a big if there's weight to lose, it will come off naturally. You can get the clothes altered. Don't wait until, people often will go, I'm going to wait until I've lost weight. The day never comes, because they don't feel great about themselves. If you dress yourself with love as you are right now, if there's weight to come off, it will come off. And I think a lot of people in the new year, they have goals for losing weight, getting fit, doing all the things. You know,
Don't put too much
treat
pressure
yourself
on
now.
yourself. Yeah.
Don't wait.
And
Because
don't wait.
then it just, you know, it comes on. But the measuring yourself and getting clear on what size you are before you shop is really, really important. And again, no judgment on that. Just it's a factual size of just telling you, when you want to buy that item, this is the size frame of that. It doesn't say anything about you as a person. And that's kind of it for that first step. And then obviously the second step comes very quickly on the hot of that image audit, is to have a review of your wardrobe and actually go through it and clear it out and then reorganize it. And just because, you know, part of looking good and having an effortless wardrobe is having a wardrobe that functions well and is easy. And again, my big thing, as I said, streamline and simplify. Just to have a wardrobe that you can open the doors of and everything inside of it is something that you can wear that day. And if that means putting your summer stuff in another wardrobe or away, I mean, I don't have a very big wardrobe, so I have to pack my summer stuff away, which means that everything in that wardrobe fits me, can work, is in order. It's just, that review is just really worth doing. And if you've got things that don't fit, move them out of the way.
Pack them
Just
away.
put them somewhere separate, pack them away temporarily. If they still don't fit you in 6 months or a year, let them go. Like let go of that guilt and just dress yourself as you are today. So I can't stress, that's probably one of the biggest issues, I think, for a lot of women, is that they've got all of these different sizes in their wardrobe. Now, I get that often there's so much fluctuation that it doesn't mean that they were an 8 and now they're a 16 and there's a big gap. And actually, if that's the case, then obviously let go of that. But a lot of women, it's not as clear cut as that. Is they vary on different months. They might even vary throughout one month. So in that case, you know, you might keep a few more sizes on the go, so to speak. But it's about being honest with yourself and realistic about what you can achieve, and letting go of a size that you maybe were before. If you're not, you know, not in a position to, you know, starve yourself or exercise, you know, you're like, no, I'm not going to, realistically, I'm not going to be there again as I am now, as a middle-aged woman or as a busy woman. I'm not prepared to put in the work it takes or the energy it takes to be something that's, you know, not important anymore. It's like, really dress yourself as you are with love today.
Life is too short, and it goes really fast. I can't, you know, Christmas comes so quickly each year, and then we're in January again, and we're sort of starting again. It's like, oh my goodness, it just whizzes past. So yeah, just look after yourself today, who you are today, and we evolve all the time. Yeah, what's in your wardrobe now might not be what you would wear, you know, even 6 months ago. You've just got to, this reflection is really important. Just to step back and take a bit of time to work this out. So we've got an exciting giveaway on the podcast. So if you enjoyed listening about how to reflect from Lizzie's book, Look Like the Leader You Are, you can go into a lot more depth and do all of the steps. It's a 7-step strategy. It's good to have a strategy. It's great to have a guide. This is a bestseller, this book. It's brilliant. So Lizzie is giving away 5 copies. Do you want to talk about your giveaway?
Yeah, so I'm going to give away 5 copies. So I'll post this out to you. So obviously, what you need to do is you need to follow me on Instagram and Lisa on Instagram, and then send a DM with the word book to me on Instagram. And then on the end of January, which I'm believing is the 31st of January, we will put all of those names in a hat, and we will pull 5 people, and I'll get in touch with the 5 people to get your addresses, and I will send you this in the post. But if you don't want to wait, and you want to get it, you can, in the show notes of the podcast is the link where you can buy the digital version, and you also get the workbook as well. So if you want to crack on with that before then. But some people just, I mean, a lot of people, and I do this myself, is I buy the Kindle version, buy the audio version, and I like to have the actual copy in my hand. So some of my favourite books, I've got them in all different formats. So, but anyway, 5. And if you really want the paperback version, you can buy that on Amazon anyway.
I love going through with a highlighter. You see, I like the paperback because then I can put pages down. I can get a highlighter and highlight bits.
I'm the same, yeah.
I'm old school. I like that. Definitely the paperback. Thank you, Lizzie, so much for joining me today.
Oh, no, thanks for having me again. It's great.
Such a good chat. We're both hugely passionate about what we do. I've got some freebies as well. If anyone wants some freebies on body shape and personal branding, Lisa Gillbe style /free. So, and go in for the giveaway, send either Lizzie or me a DM on Instagram, and then end of Jan, we'll pull 5 names out of a hat. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you, Lizzie. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lisa.